Today our learning target is using context clues. We're going to use these as readers to understand the meaning of unknown words in our reading, and we're going to use them as writers to help our readers understand technical vocabulary. Why should we use context clues? Well, look at this picture. What is it? You can look at it and stare at it and wonder about it, but you'll have a difficult time figuring out what it is. Would it help to see this picture's context? In other words, would it help to see the bigger picture? The context of something means the bigger picture of what's going on around it. Now that you see the larger context, it's easy to figure out the picture as part of a duck's beak. It works the same way with words. Using context clues doesn't always help, but most of the time you can figure out what a word means from the words around it. Other times you need to use a different strategy, like figuring out the word parts coming from Greek and Latin roots. Let's look more at context clues. There are several different types of clues that the context may give you. It's helpful to know what these are when you read, and it's especially helpful to know how to use the different kinds when you're a writer. The first kind is a definition or restatement clues. Sometimes the unknown word or the technical term is defined right there in the text. This is especially true when the word is a technical term used specifically in that subject area. Some of the signal words are that is, means, called, which is, also known as. When you see those words, it probably means they're about ready to define or give a restatement. For example, there's a picture over here. The arid climate, which was extremely dry, did not support much wildlife. The word which was signaled the restated definition of arid, meaning extremely dry. Also, there's another example. The dromedary, also referred to as a camel, stores fat in its hump. The also referred to is a signal that there's a restatement or definition. Sometimes the signal for context clues is punctuation. Either a pair of commas or a pair of dashes may set off a definition or a restatement, like in this article about reinventing the toilet. They define latrines, dash, toilets built over holes in the ground, dash, with a restatement or a definition set off by dashes. That same definition could have commas instead of dashes. And then we see another example here of restatement, but this is where the signal word is called. So this practice is called open defecation, and that's the practice of going to the bathroom right on the ground. A second type of clue is the synonym or comparison clue. Here, a word or group of words that has the same or similar meaning as the unknown word can be found somewhere in the sentence or in the passage. You also might see signal words like or, similarly, or likewise, and that or is set off with a little comma. Like this: if anyone is able to compromise or weaken our embassy's security, we won't be able to hold meetings there. So in this set situation, compromise means weaken. Sometimes the words are just in the context as a whole and there is no signal word, like in the second example. Mr. Clarkson always wore an amiable smile. His students regularly commented on his genuine, friendly nature. The word friendly gives you a clue to the definition of amiable. Amiable means friendly. And again, just like before, sometimes the signal is some punctuation, here a dash. My little brother is gaunt, just so thin and bony. Thin and bony are synonyms of gaunt. Third, there are antonym or contrast clues. Here you're going to look for a word or group of words that has the opposite meaning of the unknown word. There's lots of signal words that all show some kind of opposition. Although, but, yet, unlike, not, in contrast, instead, rather than, however. In the little picture, the example, unlike her quiet family, Sue was boisterous. Right, so boisterous is the opposite of quiet because boisterous is unlike quiet. Sometimes the context clues are just a list of examples. For example, commercial vehicles, such as trucks, buses, and taxis with paid drivers, can all be found on the road. The such as signals that the trucks, buses, and taxis with paid drivers are all examples of commercial vehicles. For example, such as, and for instance, are all signal words that an example clue is coming up. In the picture, the example says some conditions are congenital. For example, babies can be born with heart or limb defects. Congenital means something that you're born with, because they give the example of being born with two kinds of defects. Much of the time you're going to need to make inferences about a word's meaning from multiple clues or from clues across a whole passage and not from one really specific clue. Here's an example. Let's look at the word halcyon. You can think about that. You can look at it for a long time. You're not going to figure it out based on prefixes, roots, and suffixes. So you're going to have to go figure it out from the context or look it up in a dictionary. As the ship sailed west, the sailors watched the sea's gentle waves and listened to the seagulls in the clear skies calling to each other. The halcyon weather was about to end, however. To the east, dark clouds approached, heading right toward them. So the fact that gentle waves and clear skies gives you an example of the kind of weather that is halcyon weather. Also, there's a contrast clue here. It says it's going to end, however, and then the opposite, when it changes, it will be dark clouds, and that would be bad weather. So we're thinking that halcyon is good or gentle or clear or peaceful, something like that. So we thought that it meant something good, and if we look across the choices, we see angry, sharp, peaceful, and wet. Peaceful sounds like it might fit. Wet certainly could apply to weather. I don't know about angry and sharp. I would never say the angry weather or the sharp weather. So if I substitute those in, they just don't make sense. Peaceful weather I don't normally call weather peaceful either, but peaceful seems to fit with the idea of gentle and clear, and it's contrasted with dark clouds, so that's a pretty good choice. And for wet weather does seem like a kind of thing you might say, but if you're talking about gentle waves and clear skies, that doesn't fit with wet weather because clear skies means it's sunny. And the dark clouds that are approaching is a contrast to what the halcyon weather is now. So peaceful is the best choice. Now's your chance to practice using context clues. Go ahead and do the questions that are embedded in this assessment to show us what you can do.